Hello and welcome back to Thriving with Chels. I just want to say the biggest thank you for all of the love on episode 1 of this podcast. And I also want to say that I am lying right now. I'm not lying, I'm manifesting because I haven't posted it yet. Episode 1 I just finished it 5 minutes ago. I have had an outfit change, as you could see, but it is the exact same day and it's 5 minutes later. But I'm manifesting that you guys are going to love episode 1 and that you're going to love it and you're going to give me great feedback. So there's that. And if you did love it and you didn't give me feedback, feel free to message me. I'd love to hear it. Today's episode I am really excited about. It's a little bit of an extension from last week's episode, but I want to say it's going to have more structure and it's going to have more of a purpose. Last week was just like a good old yap, and sometimes we just need that. Sometimes we just need to yap. Whereas today, I really want to talk about the idea, the concept, the struggle of why you are still starting over every single Monday. Now, I know I spoke about this in last week's episode. Last week feels ridiculous because, as I said, I just finished recording it. I want to speak about why you are still starting over every Monday. And I want to talk about what we can do to get out of this mindset. So, if you're listening to this right now, I would almost bet money that at some stage of your life you've said, I'm starting my diet on Monday. Monday, I am going to be a new woman. Just wait. My diet starts next week. I'm locking in next week. I'm starting my health kick next week. I'm almost certain that you have said something along those lines at some point of your life. Now, if you have, welcome, you're in the right place, because I spent, as I mentioned last episode, I spent 13 years of my life saying that every single week. So I get it. I know what it's like to be in that cycle of I will start again on Monday. I have to remember to look at the camera lens and not at the viewfinder next to it, because as much as I would love to look at myself, I need to look at you guys. So I'm locked in on you guys. I know what it's like. Again, I spent 13 years of my life telling myself that every single week. And I feel like I have cracked the code, you could say, on breaking that mindset and breaking that habit and getting out of that cycle. And that's really what I want to talk about in today's episode. I want to talk about, one, why you're doing this and why you're constantly in that headspace of like, I'm going to start again next week. I'm starting again Monday. After the weekend, I'll get back on track. I want to talk about the why. And then I want to talk about what can we actually do to stop doing that? Because the reality I see all the time with clients is they will be consistent with their nutrition. And when I say nutrition, I'm specifically talking about weight loss, because that's what I do. I help women lose weight. I see so many women, they are on track, they are consistent, they are adherent Monday, I want to say through to about Thursday. A lot of people say Monday to Friday. No. I think people tap out on Friday. I used to tap out by Friday. I'd be like weekend mode Friday. I see all the time women start eating better or being consistent, tracking their calories, whatever it is, on a Monday. Friday, they kind of go into that all or nothing mindset. And then they're in that all or nothing mindset. They're eating whatever they want. They're probably overeating. They're not making choices that align with their goals Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, they start again. Now, I want to mention that if you want to see good results with weight loss, you need to be consistent 7 days of the week. I'm not saying you have to be perfect 7 days of the week, but you need to be consistent. If you're on track 4 days and then you're completely off track 3 days, you are not going to see the results you want. And I wanted to preface this because so many women come to me and they're just exhausted. They're like, I'm never going to lose the weight. I've been struggling my whole life, blah, 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 blah. And I get it. As I said, I've been there. But the reason you're so exhausted and over it and burnt out is because you're putting in all the work 60% of the time, but then obviously you're not seeing the rewards because the other 40% of the time you're not consistent. So you feel like you're doing everything because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're smashing it. But then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you let yourself down. You're not consistent. You're probably overeating. Again, you're just not making choices that align with your goals. But you still feel like you've put in the effort that week. So you feel like you've probably been trying to lose weight for years, but you haven't seen the result of that. Now, the reason is because you're not being as consistent as you need to be. So you don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be consistent. And that's something I want to talk about today. So if you're someone who feels like you've been trying for years and nothing's working, this conversation is also going to be really helpful for you, because there's kind of two people. There's the people that are very aware that every weekend they go into that kind of like all or nothing mentality, and then they tell themselves they'll start again Monday. I was very much that person. But then there's also the people that maybe just aren't as aware that that's what they're doing. So they're really consistent Monday through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I want to say a shit show, let's be honest. Like, we're overeating, we're not making good choices, we're not hitting our daily habits, but they're not really aware, because they kind of tell themselves like, oh, I've been consistent throughout the week, like I'm going to let myself enjoy this weekend, which you get to a point of your journey where you kind of get to do that a little bit more. But if you're actively wanting to lose weight, that mindset is not going to serve you. But often people don't realize they're struggling with that mindset. They just know that they've been trying to lose weight for so long, but they're not seeing results, and they feel exhausted from that. So there's two people I want to speak to. And I'm going to say most of you fit into either one or the other, or maybe a little combination of both. So some of the reasons we keep starting over every Monday and have that mentality is because we very much struggle with the all or nothing mindset. Now, this is like such a common term. I feel like everyone knows what this is. It means slightly different things for different people. But for myself personally, this looked like I was either 100% on track, ticking every single box perfect, or I was Macca's for lunch, KFC for dinner, 2 family blocks of chocolate for dessert, and a full sugar bottle of Coke, and probably a tub of ice cream. All or nothing. That is what I was. Now, you might relate to that completely. You might be like, I've never done that, but I understand. For me, it's more I just like let things I let the reins a little looser on the weekend. Like, everyone has their own version of this, but I think for so many people, they're either all in or they're all out. And the reason why this journey of mine, specifically the last 18 months where, I've lost 25 kilos, and as I mentioned in the last week's episode, I feel like I've actually healed my relationship with food, is because I don't have that mindset anymore. And I think the first time I lost the weight, I did. I didn't realize I did, but I did. So now I very much am like, I don't need to be perfect, but I do need to be consistent. And if I can't be as consistent as I would like, which I'm going to kind of touch on, for example, if I've got a wedding I'm going to over the weekend and I know, okay, I'm probably going to have a couple of drinks, I'm not obviously going to be tracking my food, instead of going, oh, well, fuck it, may as well eat as much as I want, do whatever I want, start again next week, I go, okay, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to have some drinks. I'm going to eat the food. I'm going to have some cake. But I'm not going to go into that mindset, and I'm not going to let one event turn into a whole weekend extravaganza of eating whatever I want. And that's a hard place to get to, but if I can do it, I guarantee you that you can too. Breaking that all or nothing mindset is going to be key. Now, I think something that's really helpful for breaking this all or nothing mindset is actually proving to yourself that you don't have to be all to get results. And when I say all, I'm referring to like all or nothing. You don't have to be all. You don't have to be perfect to get results. Again, like I've said, I eat takeaway at least once a week. I eat chocolate every single night. I will go out for an untracked meal most weeks, and I've lost 25 kilos, over 25 kilos. You do not need to be all. You do not need to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. So although I say, yeah, I've had takeaway, I have chocolate every night, I go out for an untracked meal, what my life looks outside of those is very consistent. I stick to my calorie targets as best as I can. I hit my steps. I drink my water. I don't like to overcomplicate things. So I really focus on kind of the foundations, but I do that. And then in combination with the meals out, the chocolate every night, I've been able to lose over 25 kilos. And for me, when I first kind of, was losing the weight and I was eating foods that I enjoyed, I was having the chocolate, I was getting the takeaway, but I was also seeing the results. That was so incredibly helpful because it literally was proof in front of my eyeballs that I didn't have to be all in perfect to see results. So I think you almost have to like prove it to yourself that you can enjoy your food, the foods that you love. You can go out for meals. You can have a couple of drinks if you like, and you can still make progress towards your goals. But you can't do those things and expect to see results if you're not also doing the other side of it, which is sticking to your calories as best as you can outside of those moments, hitting your steps, drinking your water, doing those foundational things. So I truly think when it comes to kind of overcoming that all or nothing mindset, you almost have to prove to yourself that you can, which is like what I help all of my clients do. The next one is going into that like I've already fucked up or I've already blown it mindset. Similar to the above, where it's like, I feel like this especially comes up with more spontaneous things. So often I'll get like panicked messages from clients on a Friday afternoon. I'm about to sign off the week and they're like, Chelsea, I've got to be mindful of not screaming this microphone because I fear if you have headphones in, that's not going to be good for your ears. But they'll be like, Chelsea, oh my God, my boyfriend just texted me and we're going out for dinner tonight and I didn't save calories for this. What do I do? And I'm like, Diva, I get it. I've been in that position where it feels like a panic because you've planned out your food, you've pre-tracked, you've maybe even meal prepped. And then something comes up spontaneously and you're like, well, I've already blown it now. I'm going out for dinner. We're going to the pub. I'm not going to be able to track my calories. It's going to be over my calories. I only left 600 calories for dinner. Chelsea, what do I do? I've got you. What you do in those moments. And this is, part of me really struggles with like even saying things like this because the way I say it, I want to say it in the most simple way. But I'm so aware that it's so much easier said than done. But it gets easier every single time you do it. So what you do, your boyfriend's text you, hey babe, we're going out for dinner tonight, my treat. And you're like, on one hand, oh my God, I'm so excited. And the other hand, you're like, fuck, I've pre-tracked my calories there and I've only left 500 calories for dinner. What do I do? What you do is you focus on 3 things. Mindful choices. And if you're one of my clients, you're like, I know what these are. Mindful choices, portion control, and not going into that all or nothing mindset. Now, I want to do a whole episode on this because I feel like this is a whole topic in itself, but the skinny version, and when I say skinny, I just mean like the quick version. I'm not part of skinny talk. Don't worry. The quick version, mindful choices, doing your best to choose something on the menu that aligns with your goals. So if you want to lose weight, as much as you probably want the Parma because the Parma is delicious, a Parma generally from a pub can be like 1,200 calories. So that's probably not the most mindful choice if you're on a calorie deficit. Something like a steak, chips, and salad is a much better choice, a much more mindful choice when you have a goal of weight loss. It's going to be lower in calories. You're still going to be satisfied because you're getting the chips, which are delicious. You're getting a good amount of protein in from the steak, and you're getting in some fiber, micronutrients, and extra volume from the salad. That's an example of a mindful choice. Another example of a mindful choice would be if you're going to an Italian restaurant, instead of getting like a cream-based pasta, so I always refer to these as like a white pasta, choose a red one. The tomato-based pasta is generally going to be a little lighter in calories. Those are examples of mindful choices. Portion control, number 2. Number 2 is portion control. This looks like going and actually eating what you want and what you feel like and choosing something off the menu that's going to leave you feeling satisfied, but not feeling like you have to eat all of it. And I always use the example of like, I love pizza. If we go to an Italian restaurant, you will actually never see me order pasta. I'm not a pasta girl. I love pizza though. If I'm in a calorie deficit and I'm getting a pizza, my kind of rule to myself is I'm going to have half the pizza. I feel full and satisfied after the pizza. Could I eat the other half? Yes. Once a big back, always a big back. Could I eat it? Yes. Am I going to eat it? No. Because I know when it comes to losing weight, half a pizza isn't going to have a negative effect on my goals. Me eating the whole pizza, especially when I haven't left the calories for it, it is potentially going to have me quite above my calorie target for the day. That's an example of portion control. This can also look like if you're going to an Italian restaurant, being like, hey, to your friend or your partner, whoever you're with, do you want to get a pizza and a salad and share it? Or do you want to get a pizza and something else and share it? Or do you want to, instead of us all getting a dessert at the end of the night, let's all share one? Like, just like, I try to have like a sharing mentality. I feel like that's really helpful for portion control. And then lastly is not going into that all or nothing mindset. Regardless of how the meal out goes, whether you overeat, whether you nail it, whether you feel like, shit, I probably had a few too many drinks. We've all been there where you're like, yeah, let's go out for day night. Let's have one drink. And then you've had 5 drinks. Regardless of how it goes, you leave it there. Leave it at the restaurant, leave it at the bar, leave it at the event. And you go home and you go back into your normal routine. Even if a spontaneous dinner plan comes up that I haven't left the calories for, I will go and I will eat, in a mindful way. I will focus on portion control and I will always come home and have my 2 to 3 fun-sized chocolates for dessert. Because I'm not restricting. If I tell myself I'm not allowed to have them, I'm only going to want them even more. That's potentially going to lead to me wanting to eat a whole block of chocolate. So I have them. Yes, I'm going to be slightly over my calories, but being slightly over your calories one day of the week is not going to affect your results. Going into all or nothing mindset every weekend is going to affect your results. Guys, I don't want to brag, but I feel like I'm on fire. Anyway, next one. Another thing that is the reason why you keep starting over is because you are potentially struggling with emotional eating. This was a massive one for me, and I feel like I didn't really even touch on this last episode. Emotional eating. So many people, and I'm going to say women because I only work with women. Men, you're allowed to listen, but I only work with women. So many women struggle with emotional eating, where anytime you feel any intense emotion, and it can be positive or negative. Often it's negative though, whether that is stress, anxiety, sadness, anger, loneliness, whatever it is, you soothe those emotions with food. I did this the whole time I struggled with binge eating, and this was often what would kick off a binge, where I would be either feeling really shit about myself and then I would binge, or I would have an argument with someone I loved that would set off a binge. I'd be feeling really stressed, that would set off a binge. I'd be tired, like those emotions, I'd go eat because I'd be like, this is going to make me feel better. Now, in the moment, it kind of does for the 5 seconds that you're eating it. But as soon as you've finished it, you're not going to feel great, physically or mentally. So when it comes to emotional eating, again, this could be a whole episode because it's such an in-depth topic and I have so much to say about it. But with emotional eating, the biggest tip I give my clients is we need to swap out the coping mechanism of soothing our emotions with food with a healthier coping mechanism. And you're going to hate this because I hated it too. But you need to swap out the food and the eating for going for a walk, calling a friend, having a shower, doing a hobby, painting your nails, reading, journaling, yoga, Pilates, literally anything that's going to just be a little bit better for you. Now, again, you're going to hate doing this because I hated it. No, going for a walk is not going to feel as good in the moment as eating a family-sized block of Cadbury chocolate. But it is the healthier choice, physically and mentally. And learning how to soothe your emotions with healthier coping mechanisms is so important on a weight loss journey. Because if you're someone that struggles with emotional eating and you don't focus on healing that, you are going to constantly go around in circles where, again, you're on track, but then you have these emotions come up where you're off track and then you're emotionally eating and then you're back to square one and then you're starting again. And it's just, again, you're just going to be stuck in this like washing machine cycle. I often say to clients, we need to find healthier coping mechanisms. Again, I can give you a whole episode about this. It's not fun. You're not always going to love it. You're going to want to eat when you're trying to break these habits, but over time it does get easier. Something that I love to do, I'm not massive on like, oh, if I'm feeling stressed, go for a walk, because I don't want to do that when I'm stressed. What I will do personally is I love to have a shower. So if I'm stressed, if I'm angry, if I'm upset, if I need to just have a good cry, I shower. And I literally like will be in the shower and I envision washing the stress off me or washing the sadness away or washing. Sometimes I just like, I'll finish work for the day and it's been a good day, but my mind's just going a million miles an hour. I'll get in the shower and I'm like washing the day away. And I get out of the shower and I'm like, work Chelsea's gone for the day. It's just at home, Chelsea, let's make dinner, let's watch TV. Life is good. So that's my personal favorite, but you've got to find yours. And the process of finding it sucks and it's hard and you're not going to want to do it. But every single time you soothe your emotions with something other than food, it gets that little bit easier. Okay, there's a couple more reasons that fall under the like why we have this like I'll start again Monday mentality. The next one is perfectionism, which again is kind of like all or nothing. You are like, well, if I can't be 100% perfect with my calories, my habits, my blah, 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 I'm going to not do any of it. And again, I am living proof that you do not need to be perfect to lose weight. You do not need to be perfect to heal your relationship with food. I would say you're going to see better results and you're going to heal your relationship with food even better when you're not perfect and you prove to yourself that you don't have to be perfect to achieve your goals. And lastly is that kind of like weekend guilt. You know, you overeat on the weekend. Again, like it's going to look different for everyone. For some, it's like you have too much wine with the girls. For some, it's like a cheeky takeaway. For some, it's eating a block of chocolate on your way home from the groceries. For some, it's just like an all weekend extravaganza of eating whatever you want and as much of it as you possibly can. And then you feel this like sense of guilt on a Sunday night where you're like, why did I do that? I wish I didn't do that. I fucked up, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, well, lucky for me, tomorrow is Monday Monday, and Monday is the universal day of starting over. So tomorrow I will be a new person. And then you like tell yourself this and you're like, well, if I'm starting over tomorrow, let's go get a caramel sundae from Macca's and really just seal this deal. Which, side note, I had a caramel sundae the other night. Dan and I, this is a quick tangent. We did a 2-hour round trip to Diamond Creek, which is like an hour away from me. And then we had to drive an hour back because I found these like white umbrellas that I want at my wedding. And I want to do a whole episode about the wedding, but I'm doing like under $10,000. I'm like, I refuse to spend a ridiculous amount of money on this wedding. So I found them on Marketplace for a steal, $500 each. These umbrellas are brand new. I got 2 of them from this girl. Shout out. I can't remember what your name was, but I love you. 2 from her for $230. So I was like, Dan, get in the car, we're going. When we got home, there's a Macca's around the corner and we were like, we're having a caramel sundae, and it was delicious. So I'm not saying you can't have a caramel sundae, but just track it into your calories. And I promise you, if you allow yourself to have those things, you'll probably stay a lot more consistent because you don't feel restricted. So those are kind of the reasons why I find and see people struggle with that all or nothing mindset, that I'll start again Monday mentality. Now, what isn't going to work and what isn't going to fix this all or nothing, I'll start again Monday mentality are things like detoxes, juice cleanses, anti-inflammatory diets, cutting out carbohydrates, cutting out like just foods, being like, I'm not going to eat chocolate for the next 6 months. I'm not going to eat takeaway for the next 6 months. I'm not going to eat chocolate for the next 30 days. Like cutting out things, that's not going to work. 2-hour-long gym sessions, 7 days a week, not going to work. And starting over after one off-track meal is also not going to work. So like, just like if you were thinking, oh, maybe I'll try, no, none of those things, we're not doing any of those because they're not going to work. So let's talk about what's actually going to work, shall we? So what actually works? What you need to focus on if you are somebody that has this I'll start again Monday mentality is realizing that if your goal is weight loss, that's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about if you want to achieve something else. If you want to lose weight, you need to eat in a calorie deficit. Now, the beauty of this is you can eat foods that you love in that calorie deficit. And again, when you do that, you're probably going to be able to stay more consistent because you're actually enjoying the foods that you're eating. You don't feel restricted. So then you don't have that like binge restrict mentality. So something I actually encourage a lot of my clients to do is have like a fun meal on the weekend. Get takeaway, make a more like fun fakeaway style meal, go out for a meal, have a couple of drinks if you want to, have a more decadent dessert like a caramel sundae from Macca's. Do that, but track it into your day. That way you're going to satisfy those like cravings and the feeling of like, oh, I want a treat. It's the weekend, but you're also still making a choice that aligns with your goals because you've tracked it into your calories for the day. Now, this comes down to pre-planning and pre-tracking. I always say to clients, do not track as you go, especially on the weekends. I always encourage clients, Thursday afternoon, you sit down and you plan out your food for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're going into each day with a plan. Now, the beautiful thing about flexible dieting, the plan can change, but don't go into the weekend without a plan because that's just setting yourself up for disaster. The next thing is your habits. Habits matter so much more than you think when it comes to not having that I'll start again Monday mentality. So this looks like maintaining your habits over the weekend. Now, I'm a big fan of what I like to call the foundational habits. I think a big issue people have when it comes to staying consistent with their weight loss goals is trying to do a million things at once before they've nailed the foundations. Focus on the foundations. I actually tell my clients to focus on one thing first. So like if someone comes to me and they want to lose weight, the first thing I'll generally get them to focus on is sticking to their calorie target. I'll say, let's stick to your calorie target for the next couple of weeks. Once you can do that consistently, then we'll add on the next habit. However, focus on your foundational habits. Again, if your goal is weight loss, this is going to look like calories, steps, water, going from 2 to 4 if you're watching the video, calories, steps, water, sleep. Focus on those 4 things: calories, steps, water, sleep. There are other habits that matter. I am well aware of that. Yes, protein. Yes, fruits. Yes, veggies. However, again, one of the things that fucks people up is trying to do it all at once. They're like, okay, I'm going to be a new woman tomorrow, and that means I'm going to hit my calories, hit my steps, hit my protein, eat enough fruits, eat enough veggies, hit my fiber target. I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. I'm going to hit 20,000 steps. I'm also going to cut out alcohol. I'm going to cut out takeaway. I'm also going to be really aware of only eating organic and clean anti-inflammatory foods. And I'm also going to eat no processed foods. So I'm going to make everything from scratch, but I'm also not going to eat gluten. I'm also not going to eat dairy. Trying to do too much or too many restrictive things is probably your problem. Focus on one thing at a time. Or if you want to focus on a little bit more than one thing at a time, focus on the foundations: calories, steps, sleep, and water. Once you're doing those 4 things consistently, then let's focus on the other things if you want to, like protein, like fruits, like veggies. Obviously, those are more than like if you want to. We do need to focus on those things. But again, trying to do too much at the beginning is probably why you're in this cycle of on track, off track. Got it? Great. So habits matter. Focus on those foundational habits and focus on them more than just Monday to Thursday. Hit your steps over the weekend, but make it kind of fun as hitting your steps can be. For example, last weekend, Dan and I I think it was Sunday, we were like, let's drive, 30 minutes away to a spot we haven't been for a walk before. We know it's a nice walk. Let's do a walk there. Amazing. It makes it a little bit more fun. Catch up with girls for a coffee and a walk instead of going out for breakfast and eating 1,200 calories at breakfast. Like, continue your habits, especially those foundational habits, over the weekend. So then you're not starting again every Monday because you haven't done anything all weekend. Next is consistency. This one goes without saying. You don't need to start over every Monday if you are just consistent. And again, do not mix up consistency with perfection. Trying to be perfect is probably the reason you haven't seen the results. When I stopped trying to be perfect and I focused on being consistent, that is when I lost 25 kilos. The next one is remembering that one meal out does not ruin your progress, but one whole weekend extravaganza of eating whatever you want will. Next, again, these are kind of all just like blending together, but I think that explains everything, is progress over perfection. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to focus on doing a little bit better than maybe you did the previous weekend. You don't need to earn food. You don't need to go and do a Hyrox and a marathon and a triathlon and an Ironman and a 7-hour gym session to go out for a meal out with your partner or your friends or get takeaway. That's not how life works. That's not realistic, and that's not going to serve you. So remember, you do not need to earn food, Diva. You earn food by being alive. Got it? And the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on here in terms of like what actually works is including foods that you love. Again, this is going to look different for everyone. Personally, for me, this looks like I have chocolate every single night, regardless of whether I've had a day where I've stuck to my calories perfectly, or if I've had a day where we went out for a spontaneous dinner, I'm probably slightly over my calories. I'm still going to have my chocolate when I get home, because I know that including that in my day every single day is going to help me stay on track because I'm not going to feel restricted. So for you, that might look like ice cream every night, or it might look like a portion controlled amount of potato chips in the afternoon. Like it's going to look different for everyone, but find what your kind of thing is and include that in your day, because that is going to help you not fall into that all or nothing way of thinking that leads you to then having to start over every Monday. I don't need to start over anymore because I don't binge eat 2 Cadbury boxes of chocolate at a time. Instead, I have Cadbury chocolate every night after dinner, but in a portion controlled way. So I couldn't tell you the last time I've had to go, all right, I'm starting again tomorrow, I'm starting again Monday. I don't need to anymore because I'm just consistent and I eat the foods that I love, but I also make choices that align with my goals. And I want you to get to that point as well, because it is truly the best feeling in the world. So a few things that you can go away and actually do this week. Now, some of you might be really struggling with this at the moment and you're like, I've literally every weekend for the whole existence of my life struggled with the I'll start again Monday. Some of you might feel like you're in a solid place at the moment, but I think you can still kind of take from these things. So 5 things that you can do this week. 1, stop waiting for Monday. If you are listening to this on whatever day you're listening to it, use this as a sign to not wait until Monday to start again. Because the reality is, if you are serious about achieving your goals, you wouldn't wait. And that's hard to say because, again, I literally told myself I'll start again Monday every single day for 13 years. But if you listened to last week's episode and you heard me mention my kind of rock bottom moment where I sobbed all night in bed. I literally cried and cried and cried. I've never cried so much. In the words of Ariana Grande, I had no tears left to cry. I started the next day and it was a Friday. I started on a Friday. And I think like that's such a good example of like, what are the chances the day I started on a Friday is the time that I actually lost 25 kilos, actually healed my relationship with food and actually stuck to it. Because I knew, I was like, I can't wait till Monday. If I wait till Monday, you're just going to do the same thing you've always done. So if you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start doing all these things Chelsea's speaking about as of Monday. No, you're going to start right now. Trust me. The next one is you are going to include one of your favorite foods into your day every single day in a portion controlled amount. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's chocolate like me. I don't care if it is ice cream, potato chips, donuts, cookies, lollies, chocolate covered fruit, or whatever you love. I'm just trying to think of things that people like, cheese and crackers, like whatever it is. You're going to include a portion control of that in your day every single day. And watch how different you feel about these foods. How much less power these fruits hold over you. When you eat chocolate every single day, you don't have that feeling of needing to eat 2 blocks of it because guess what? You know that you're going to have it again tomorrow and you know that you're going to have it again the next day and you know that you're going to have it every single day after that. Whereas when we overeat things and, when I would binge eat 2 blocks of chocolate, it's because in my head, I was like, well, after I eat these, as of Monday, I'm not allowed to eat this anymore. Whereas when you get to have it every single day, it takes the power away from these foods. So I want you to include one of your favorite foods in your day in a portion controlled amount every single day. The next one is we are not skipping meals, restricting after we overeat. If you go out for a meal and you eat more than you wanted, or, you do have a moment where you get home from work and you're just ravenous and you eat a couple of snacks out of the pantry that you haven't chucked into your day, we're not skipping meals. We're not skipping dinner. We're not skipping dessert. We're not being like, oh, well, I'm just not going to eat for the rest of the day. No. We are continuing on with the day as planned because, again, being a little over your calories or honestly even a lot over your calories on one day is not going to have as much of a negative effect on your results as if you continue that for the rest of the weekend. And when you restrict after overeating, so for example, if I get home from recording this podcast and I go inside and I'm ravenous and I just eat all the chocolates out of the chocolate jar in my pantry, and then I don't let myself eat dinner and I don't let myself eat dessert tonight, I am going to wake up tomorrow feeling fucking starving. And guess what? That is going to trigger me wanting to overeat. It's also just like when I speak about healing your relationship with food, this is kind of what I'm speaking about. Like you telling yourself because you overate, you're not allowed to eat anymore. That's such a negative way to look at food because you overeating doesn't mean you're not allowed to eat dinner. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve to eat dinner. You absolutely do. And you're going to feel so much better if you do. Because again, skipping dinner because you overate chocolate in the afternoon, it's literally, that's the definition of binge, restrict, cycle. And it's a thing for a reason. When we binge and then restrict, we binge again. And then when we restrict and we binge, we restrict again, which leads to binging again. And it's a cycle. So do not restrict or skip meals after overeating if it occurs. Do not over-exercise, overtrain. I've had clients in the past say to me like, hey, Charles, I overate over the weekend, but I went to the gym and did 20,000 steps the next day to make up for it. 1, don't do that to yourself. 2, it's not like the way your body burns calories is so much less through exercise. I worded that really poorly than we realize. People think like they can out-train a bad diet, like classic saying, you cannot out-train a bad diet. You going to the gym and walking on the treadmill for 2 hours is not going to undo a binge, but we don't need to undo a binge. Your body is going to do that for you. Your body burns its most calories throughout the day just by living, breathing, existing. I'm burning calories just sitting here having this conversation with you. I do not need to go and do 2 hours at the gym to make up for it. That's going to leave you feeling exhausted, which is going to leave you feeling hungry, which is probably going to lead you to overeating again. So just please, if you do overeat, it happens. You're human. It's all good. Just get straight back into your normal routine, not skipping meals, not over-exercising. That was number 3. Number 4 is focus on your next decision, not your last one. So instead of focusing on, I just overate, or did I eat too much, or oh, today hasn't been perfect, I didn't hit my steps this morning. Instead of focusing on what's happened already in the day or in the week, focus on what you can do next. Okay, cool. I didn't get my steps this morning. I'm going to go for a walk this afternoon. Okay, I overate a little bit at my work lunch. I'm just going to eat my normal meals tonight because I know that's going to help me feel full and satisfied and stay on track. Focus on your next decision, not your last one. You can't change the past, but you can choose different moving forward. And truly, my life over the last 18 months of healing my relationship with food, losing 25 kilos, has ultimately come down to every single day and multiple times throughout the day, there's moments where I just choose, how can I do better in this moment? What's the best choice I can make moving forward? What choice aligns mostly with my goals? Even if, I had a not great morning, or even if, things haven't gone to plan, or even if I'm not feeling my best, I always am just like, what can I do right in this moment? Like if I'm making dinner and I haven't planned what I'm going to have, or I have planned it and then I get to the fridge and there's no, chicken left, instead of being like, oh my God, my life is over, fuck it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and start again Monday, I'll be like, what is a choice I can make right now that aligns with my goals? I can either go to the shops and I can get the stuff, or I could, get takeaway and I can get a low calorie option, or I can, there's always going to be a better choice that you can make. Just focus as often as you can on making choices that align with your goals. I know it sounds so simple, but it's such a good mindset shift to have. And then last but not least is set habits that you can repeat. So again, like I mentioned before, instead of having that mentality of, I'm going to have, 50 new daily habits that I'm starting this week, and it's like you are doing a million things every single day that there's no way you're going to be able to stick to because it's so unrealistic. Focus on habits that you can repeat. Focus on habits that you can do consistently. If you can't see yourself doing something in 5 years' time, do not do it. Do not do it. If you can't see yourself doing the millions of daily habits you've set yourself for the next 5 years, why are we doing it? Because habits work when they are habits and when we do them consistently. So focus on those foundational things I mentioned. If your goal is weight loss, focus on calories, steps, sleep, and water. Once those 4 things are feeling really solid, if it's after a week, great. If it's after 6 weeks, great. If it's after 6 months, great. Then build on from there. Then you might be like, oh, I'm going to be a little bit more intentional with my protein. Or I'm going to try get my fruit intake up from 1 piece of fruit per day to 2 pieces of fruit per day. But don't try to do everything overnight because it's not realistic. You're going to feel like there's way too much going on. It's way too overwhelming. There's way too many things on your plate. And then that causes overwhelm. And then that causes you to fall off track and go into that all or nothing mindset and then tell yourself, I'll start again Monday. So you can see how all of this is just like, it's in the same ecosystem. It all works together. So focus on setting habits that you can repeat. Start small and build from there. I also want you all, this is like a little bonus mindset shift. And this is something that I've really done over the last 18 months and has literally changed my life, is instead of asking yourself, how can I lose the weight as fast as possible? How fast can I lose the weight? Because the reality is, like, when you have weight to lose, especially if you've got a larger amount of weight to lose, you want to lose it. You don't want to take 4 years to lose 10 kilos or 20 kilos or 30 kilos. And I get that and I respect that and I'm all here for that. I didn't want to take 5 years to lose 25 kilos. However, trying to lose weight in the fastest way possible is not sustainable. And I've done it and I've been there and I'm proof that it is not sustainable. So try to do it in a sustainable way. So instead of asking yourself, how fast can I lose the weight? I want you to ask yourself, what habits could I still be doing in 5 years' time? Again, if you can't see yourself doing habits in 5 years' time that you are trying to do now, they're probably not the best things to be focusing on. However, when we go back to the foundations of something like calories, steps, sleep, and water, they're things that you could be focusing on 5 years' time. Now, I sure hope that in 5 years' time, you're not still in a calorie deficit, but when I say calories, in 5 years' time, that might look like eating at maintenance or stepping away from tracking calories, but you get the point. Okay, so to wrap us up, this has been a good one. I feel like we've got to the juice in this one. I hope you feel like you've got things that you can walk away from this, regardless of whether you're like at the beginning of your journey or if you're more seasoned, but you're just needing a little pick-me-up. To wrap things up, I don't want you to move forward from this episode continuing with the mindset of like starting over. I want you to switch that in your brain of like, I'm not starting over anymore. I'm just going to keep going. Because even if you are on your journey for like 4 weeks, and let's just say you've been killing it, you're so consistent, you're ticking off your daily habits, you're doing such a great job, and then you have a day where like, you know, you overeat or things just don't go to plan and you kind of like take a step back. Instead of being like, oh, well, now I have to start over. No, you're just going to keep going. Because this journey, it's not like once you start, you have to be perfect, or it's over. It's like you're going to start and it's going to be great. And then you're going to have a bad day. And that's okay. But then you're going to get up and you're going to keep going. We're not starting over though. You're just going to keep going. So if you do have a day where you overeat or you're not as consistent and adherent as you'd like to be, that is totally fine. You are a human being. You can still see incredible results without being perfect. However, you've just got to keep going. We're no longer starting over. I want you to like wipe that out of your vocabulary. No longer being like, Monday we'll eat healthy. Monday we'll do this. Monday I'll do this. No, we're just going to keep going. And we're going to make a commitment to ourselves that every single day and every single week, we are going to try to do better than the last. And we're going to constantly ask ourselves, what is a decision or what is an action I can take today that aligns with my goals and that is going to get me one step closer to my goals. So that is it for today's episode. If you liked this, let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram at chels.civil, SIVELL. That is my last name. Send me a DM. Let me know your thoughts. If you liked it also, please rate the podcast 5 stars. I really want to get a lot of 5-star ratings. Obviously, that's just going to make me feel so good. And I think it also helps with like pushing the podcast out to more people. And like, this is a conversation that I think like so many women would benefit from hearing. So if you like this, rate, comment, subscribe, I don't know, all the things that you can do, please do. Share to your socials, send me a DM. Like, I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you have any episode requests, I'm all ears. I've got a bunch of ideas, but again, at the end of the day, as much as I love to yap and I love the sound of my own voice, this podcast is for you guys. So if you have any requests, DM me on Instagram, let me know, and I will add it to my little list. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. I love you so much. I am so proud of you. You've got this, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye, my loves.